Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode on Sharmila Talkies. Today, I'm going to be talking to Vijaya Annapurna, who's working as the global product manager with a company called Signify, and she has about 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. Let's go ahead and get started. And this is being done on a Saturday morning, which is like a rainy Saturday in Bangalore. And Vijaya, thank you so much for taking time on the Saturday morning and talking on the show.
Hi, Sharmila. Good morning. Thank you for having me in your show.
Sure, Vijaya. Thank you so much for taking your time again. Like I said, this is a weekend. I know it does take a lot of time. Everybody has a hectic week, and to kind of take time off during weekend and talk about your work experience is a huge thing, right? So Vijaya, I think you kind of know the flow. This is not the first time you're actually giving a talk. You've given multiple talks about your career and various other experiences, which I've actually seen on LinkedIn. And also working with you personally, I know you've done that. Right. So the flow is going to be such that, we can just get started with a quick introduction about yourself, about your career, how you started and what you are today. And down the line, we can talk about some of the learnings that you've had and challenges. So maybe if you could just get started with a quick introduction about yourself, Vijaya.
Yeah, sure. Like you said, 20 decades of experience. Fortunately, that's always in the connected space. It started with Nokia connecting people, then with Harman connecting cars, and then now I'm with Signify connecting lights. I think it's a fulfilling experience for the last 2 decades, Sharmila. And covering multiple roles of project, program, and the product management as well. And in different domains like mobile, and then with the cars, automobiles, and then with the lighting space. So it was good, a lots of learnings and then experiences. And to sum it up, I'm happy with where I am today. Thank you. That's just brief about myself.
Well, that was very brief, to be honest. Very, very brief. But I really like the way you mentioned about how you've always been in a role that it's connecting people, right? I think that resonates so much with you as a person. Though we always say, professional lives and personal lives are different, I think somewhere down the line, there is a connect, right? There is some kind of, which actually reflects in both places. What you are in your personal life does show up in your professional career. And I think vice versa. I will not comment, but I think this one I can always, I can talk to it. So maybe if you can actually, Vijaya, go ahead and say how you kind of moved on from, how you started your career, which is being, excuse me, how you started your career with being a software engineer to becoming a global product manager in 20 years, right? I'm sure it started off as baby steps and definitely over a period of time to be an IC software engineer to becoming a global product manager is not a cakewalk, right? There have been, I'm sure you must have faced enough ups and downs and challenges. And I don't know if they were thrown at you or if you voluntarily took it up and what it is. If you could talk a little bit on that area, that would be nice to hear.
Yes. Oh, that's a very 20 years summarizing all the challenges, but which slightly different. But I would like to break these challenges into 2 different aspects of it, Sharmila. One is, yes, I mean, starting from a software engineer to where I am today, there are multiple people, in terms of the opportunities that's given to me, and people who saw potential in me being also offered on what I could do something different, I think, right? So I always strongly believe that there is an ecosystem that's always in play, and we need to make sure that we make best use of that opportunity. At the same time, give your best to see that you are actually making that baby steps from where I started 20 years and where I landed up today now, okay? To have more specific conversations in terms of challenges, I would like to summarize into 2 different categories. One is about the challenges that our work opportunities throw at us. Yeah. And another one is, I personally took up a challenge because I want to do something different, because I felt that I become kind of complacent being at one place, and I was not really trying to pursue what I was always passionate about. Okay. So I'll go back and start with the first category, which is on the that aspect which was thrown to me from the work perspective itself, from the business perspective, right? In my previous organization, we had one of the first 5G telematics platform program that's been offered. We are a very tiny team. We started like 7 or 8 people, and we had to really grow to deliver a major critical program, first of its kind in the world.
Interesting.
And that itself a challenge, not only for me, for the rest of the business and the company itself, right?
Absolutely.
So yes, so starting there, we need to build up the team.
Yeah.
Although the role and title is different, I ended up wearing multiple hats. Because that's the expectation. When you are in the startup part of it, there is a basic expectation that at some point of time, when you reach some kind of level of experience, it's imperative that you end up taking things more than that's been asked for or given as a part of your designation, right? That's where the maturity will come in, right? Okay. Now, having said that, we started with team building activities. We're trying to set up a program for it, bringing the right processes, and doing what you're expected to be doing at the same time. So that itself very challenging, because we work in a very competitive world, whether we like it or not. There is a competition in every single day and every single thing that we do, right? Okay, we're always running like a horse. Do we really have time to take a break and then move forward? No, because there is always a need for you to just move, just continuously be on your toes and make sure that things are happening at the right pace. Otherwise, things will fall apart, right? But eventually, at some point of time, like the way we run maintenance for our facilities, our IT systems, security updates, there is a need for I as a human to just step back and reflect, and a need for unwind, right? Because it's quite crucial, because if I'm not able to maintain myself holistically, I will not be able to give my best. Because, well, whether we like it or not, because we're in competitive world, we always need to give our best. Okay, because that also comes with the fact that, hey, there is lots of responsibility on me. I need to make sure I give my best to make sure things are happening the way are meant to be happening. Right. But it might end up taking some toll on you as well.
Yep,
so what is that we need to do? I mean, you can't just drop things and then say disappear into somewhere and then no, that's not possible, because that's not as expected for who you are, or we do not accept such kind of things. So I try to, for some point of time, it was extremely difficult, juggling between multiple things that are happening there. Then I thought, okay, let me try to solve this problem in a more holistic way. Now, what is this holistic way, right? It should start with my mind, because my mind needs to be clear. Without a clear mind and a clarity of thought, how will I try to really prioritize and try to bring in more systematic way of doing things?
Agreed.
Okay. So that's when I started with my yoga, and I'm very passionate about yoga, and I do it every single day. That's my way of living also. So I feel I'm grateful that I chose that path. And second thing is about, I also invested my time in working with a coach. Now, why working with a coach is important? They are very important, because I really connect with what Michael Jordan once said, right? A coach is someone who sees beyond your limitations and still guide you to the greatness. And we need such kind of coaches, and I'm fortunate to have met one. And it was a journey, right? And it's a baby step again there. It starts from changing my own perspective about how I look at things. How do I change my attitude about looking at a problem, rather than saying a problem not as a problem, but an opportunity to do things differently, and willing to look at somebody else's perspective as one of the alternate options. That's one way of doing it, Sharmila. So that is one from the professional part of it, right? Like I said, because in order to make sure that I understand of the suggestions or the options that are coming through the entire process, the journey, yoga also helped me to make me grounded. So the mindfulness kind of helped me to really look at the whole problem, and then see how we can break and then make things happen at the same time, not to burn out myself. Okay, this is a holistic journey. Now, what's going to happen is, if I step back and reflect, having multiple hats was challenging at that point of time, but it kind of created created a different skill set for me now. I know how to do things multitasking, but at the same time, not getting burned out, and learn how to delegate when it's needed, which was not the case earlier. And then helping at the same time, helping my team who wanted to groom to the next level. So this is more of a collaborative approach of looking at a problem and solving a problem, Sharmila. So what I'm also trying to say is it's really good that life gives you those such kind of opportunities, but what you want to do with them and how you want to solve them is extremely important. And I think I'm glad I had that opportunity to take up that challenge, because I'm much more smarter in trying to look at the problems and try to solve them more holistically, Sharmila. So that's my first challenge in what I did, and I'm really happy. It went for 3 years, and we delivered what we wanted to deliver, and that's kind of part of my experience now.
Okay. I think you really nailed it, Vijaya, when by saying that, you need clarity in your head first about how to move forward, especially when you're multitasking and, and when you're growing up your career, you have multiple opportunities. You don't want to miss an opportunity. At the same time, if you put your hands in too many buckets, you're also probably not delivering up to the mark as expected, right? But that clarity in your thoughts as to how to prioritize. And I think the emphasis that you did on how yoga brought you so much of to keep you grounded. And, I think also the coach part of it, I think you're one of the few people who I know personally have a coach. I've always heard and read so much about the importance of a coach in one's personal or professional life. Professional life to a large extent. I think personal life is more of the US culture, which is slowly getting here. But that's it. I think, I can see that impact or effect on you of having a coach and how you are now able to not get burned out or stressed out and still deliver in spite of multitasking. Though there's a saying that if you multitask, you don't end up delivering. You are able to prioritize and deliver as expected, right? I think you kind of really nailed it about these things, right? So like what you mentioned, Vijaya, one is opportunities thrown at you and the other is you going ahead and grabbing it, right? So now we've had these conversations that as women leaders, there are very few, what and how do you think I know this is like a very common topic. It's not, we definitely have so many opportunities. I think it's just out there. Sometimes we kind of put a barrier to ourselves. Personally, also, being a woman, I can say that. Right? It's up to us to kind of take that step forward. So how do you think when there's an opportunity presented in an open forum, right? Like in an open room, how do you kind of from your experience when it's thrown at you or when you want to grab it, what are some of the factors or techniques or thoughts that you kind of go through or think about when you want to vouch for it and you take that opportunity? One is, I think, from my perspective, it is like based on your previous experiences and your success. Sometimes it's very new ones where you've not had it, you don't have experience in that, but you really want to go ahead and take that and deliver, right? So how do you go ahead and do that and get that? Because I know you've done it. That's why I picked this question. Right? It's it's not easy to have become a product manager. Right, you really need to know in and out about the product. You have a program manager and then a product manager. You need to work with multiple stakeholders who are not accountable to respond to you, but you need to get work done. Trust me, I know how difficult that is. Somebody who's supposed to be answerable to you, but they need not answer, right? But you need their answers to get work going and moving forward. So how do you kind of handle this and how did you go about it?
I think this question is also related to my personal challenge. I threw it myself.
Okay.
Like I said, it's the transition from the program management to product management. I mean, that's what I was doing until end of last year. Okay.
Yeah.
I transitioned to product manager role. So what happens, I think it was there back of my mind for quite some time, Sharmila. I've seen the entire life cycle of execution from end to end for execution, but I really wanted to understand the other perspective where our opportunities are coming from. So I wanted to part of that ecosystem. Having said that, I really like what Albert Einstein said that, right? I have no special talent. It's just I'm passionately curious about it. Okay.
Wow, Vijaya, you're being
Yes.
very humble.
Yes. It just the part of it, if you ask me, do I really have a product management skill set or anything? No, I did not have. Yes, product management, yes. But what I also know is that given if I'm willing to spend some time, make sure I dedicate effort, understanding it, the nuances of it, the vocabulary of it. And there are definitely people, even if you talk to 100 people, if 2 or 3 people might be willing to help you because it's part of our ecosystem, because there's so many people out there who are willing to give back to the society. Okay, no matter where you go, we come across such people, and they're humble and they're kind to extend their support. Now, having said that, so I kind of invested almost 1.5 to 2 years of time, Sharmila. I was thinking, when I thought about seriously, it's very, very simple. The next thing I wanted to do, if I'm going to move from here, will be A, product management. And then B, it should be in the sustainability space, because sustainability is more of caring. And it's important that we should really, really care about what we take from the ecosystem and give it back. So that's very, very clear in my head. And that clarity only came after enough amount of brainstorming and then experiencing various things in my life. So then I started talking to people who are in this space, and also expressed my interest to my manager in my previous company. Hey, this is what my area of interest looking like. I tried to explore something within, but that did not work out. No, never mind. But that kind of gave me visibility in terms of how do I prepare myself for it? What kind of questions can I anticipate? How do I need to change mindset? Because when we talk about execution, you need to be extremely detailed, but you look at the product management, you kind of get into a broader perspective, right? Yes. For me to get into a detail too, that it's a huge shift. We're talking about 19 years there, trying to get into the detailing part of it. Now I need to jump from this, start looking from broader perspective. It's not easy. But then there are people like those experienced product managers where I reached out to, I spoke with them. It was a good insight for me. So at least I can start preparing for it. And the preparation was also easy, Sharmila, because I am prepared to take that chance. Okay. And I'm also willing to take a chance on let go of my ego that I carry 19 years of experience on my head. I know everything. I'm kind of Google in program and project execution. I have to drop that. That's an ego statement, Sharmila, because I'm just moving into that space now. But there are people who are operating. There might be less experience also. Perfectly no problem. But they know more than what I do in this thing. And what is it it's going to take me? Okay. That also made me feel humble. Because if you're dropping your ego, we also need to be humble to make sure that as somebody who is maybe a less experience is coming and teaching you, will you be able to accept it? But yes, I mean, I want it. I want to go there, and that's where I want to do. That's a personal challenge for me. Think about from me as a person who comes across a very willful. That was a challenge, because I'm actually toning down my own expectations about my own self to say that for me to get this, I need to bring this down. I need to make that balance is also happening in my life. And fortunately, after 1.5 years of this, going through these inner conversations and talking to the people who are out there performing it, I got an opportunity with Signify, Sharmila, to become a full-fledged product manager with a global profile. And I'm really really fortunate, and I'm happy that I took that personal challenge to myself to land where I am and reach where I am today, Sharmila.
Amazing, Vijay. I think, you're the best example, because I've always heard that you plan and you put efforts and you work towards it, right? Sometimes it's opportunities and you grab them. Sometimes it's thrown at you. Sometimes you don't have a choice. right? It's a combination of things, but having that clarity, saying, hey, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, this is what I want to become, which is a totally different line, though it's kind of closely related, like what you said. You've always worked on nitty-gritty details, and suddenly, you're not supposed to be looking into tickets, you're not supposed to be following up in the scrum meetings and all of that stuff, but you have a big holistic view of things, right? It's not an easy jump. That mindset itself is so difficult because you're tuned to working in a certain manner for like 15 plus 19 years, like what you mentioned, and suddenly jump and say, hey, don't get into every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but look at how 1 to 100 looks, right? It's not an easy thing, and to consciously put effort and say yes. And I think I really appreciate the willingness to learn. I've always heard from a lot of people that I've spoken to before, also in my talk show, that learning is a never ending process in our lives, right? How much ever you learn, you're like, there's something that none of us, somebody or the other does not know, something or the other, right? But the emphasis on, even if that person has less experience than me, but has knowledge in that space or area, right? That willingness to let go, saying, what the hell, I'm 19 years of experience. You're like 4 years of experience, right? It does take a lot. And I think that is really, really huge. And definitely I can see the impact of that, to moving from a program manager to a product, and also becoming the global product manager, right? It is not an overnight thing, right? I get it. Probably if it was starting small and all of that stuff, to become a global, it does. I know what it takes to be a global leader or a manager, right? It's not like, okay, let's give it a shot, right? You are expected to deliver. You should have delivered. You don't have options, but deliver as expected or beyond expectations, right? So I think a lot of personal decisions that you have made, Vijaya, is reflecting so well in your professional life as well. Though I've always felt, also seen saying that you should draw a line between these two and keep them separate. But I think to a large extent, what you decide and put conscious efforts to make changes in your personal life does reflect in your professional life. And I think it's so evident with what you just spoke and looking at your career, right? So, Vijay, moving on from there, right, about the challenges and how you kind of grab opportunities and what you've done, right? What are some of the probably, I don't know if tips is the right word that I could use, right, to anybody who wants to kind of continue to grow in their career, whether it's the same line that they want to continue or if they want to switch, right? One is like what you said, let go of your experience and be very humble and humility, right? So you're ready to learn from the others. And of course, I think what you also emphasized was core planning that's required, saying where do you want to go to from today, in future, where do you want to be, that amount of planning and coaching, right? So apart from these three factors, what else, based on your experience, do you think we need to put efforts and work on?
Okay. This reminds me of something I recently read from Dr. Pawan Soni. He's one of the design thinking evangelists. He said you need to put a premium on your time, because you don't have to do everything, right? I mean, you have to be very selective in life, because time is the only limited factor, if you come to think of it. So have a conscious decision of what is that really, really important for you. And having that clarity, it might take sometimes weeks, months, or years together, but worth investing that time, Sharmila. You really need to know what you need to know, okay? Second, like I said, keep talking to people in this area, because you kind of get, they say you are an average of the 5 people that you interact with. So your ecosystem should be strong as well on where you're investing your time in, okay? So do that as well. And willing to learn, always be a student kind of an attitude, and curious. They say curiosity killed the cat. No, a curiosity is definitely going to help a human to reach where they really wanted to be there, right? That curiosity is very, very important for us to keep us really active and look out for what we want to achieve. So have the curiosity in place, and then, like I said, keep looking for it. And you might end up going through lots of rejection, because, like you said, there might be 100 things happening, but you need only one job at a given point of time. If you do right investment and not let those rejections make you feel uncomfortable, but they will make you feel uncomfortable. You have to live with it. but they learn out of it. That's what I'm trying to say. Uncomfortness will always be there, but what is that you're willing to learn? Take that as just an experience, and then see what is that you can do differently next time. I think these are the few things I would rather say, Sharmila, that I wouldn't call even tips. I think there's something, the practicalities of it, to be more precise, Sharmila, in my
Okay.
That helped me. Maybe it's going to be something different for somebody else, but that's how I reached where I am and where I wanted to be.
Very interesting, Vijaya. Thank you so much. That definitely explains a lot, right? About having clarity, about planning, putting efforts, learning, and all of that, right? So that was a lot of conversation about work. Maybe I see that you did say 3 quotes until now. It's so evident that you read a lot, and I can also see in the background you have quite a few books. So maybe if you can touch a little base about your personal space. I know you do a lot of outings. I don't know if outings is the right word, right? I see your WhatsApp status. So how do you kind of, outside work, kind of rejuvenate yourself to get back to energy every day?
My source of energy is yoga, Sharmila. I do that every single day. I mean,
Yes, you can't emphasize enough on that.
Yes. Okay. And like I said, connecting people, I like to socialize and have very strong network of family and especially friends. Okay. And they kind of help me to stay grounded when I do look out for. Okay. And I read a lot. Like I said, it's important that we always look for inspiration, because inspiration is not something, it's already there. Somebody did that. If they can manage it, why not? Why not? It's possible for me or for anybody else, per se. So I read lots of books, but I cannot transition from fiction to non-fiction. So fiction doesn't excite me anymore. And now I like to read about yoga. Definitely, yes, that's part of it. And I promised my teacher I'm going to complete the one of the books out there, right? 4 chapters of freedom. It's very, very important for me to understand the true source of yoga and how to make it much more practical in my day-to-day living. And I read books about biographies and the business strategy. And I really like to read a lot about mind space, because end of the day, this is what controls us. And if we can manage it, I know we cannot manage our mind, but if we can just see that how we can respond to whatever it's trying to do in our head is very critical for me, Sharmila. So I kind of cover various.
Wow, that's a brilliant piece.
Yes, various practice, various aspects of life, and that's the personal part of my life, Sharmila.
Awesome, Vijaya, awesome. I think you've made more than enough emphasis on yoga and the control that you need to have on your mind to, have a very, spaced personal life and successful professional life, right? I that was more and more emphasis out there, right? I think I've always been suggested to do yoga, but I go for 10 classes and I'm like, oh my God, kind of stuff, Okay, don't look at me like that. We will talk about this offline. Okay. But yeah, this is definitely a great conversation, Vijaya. Thank you so much. I'm definitely sure the viewers will have great takeaways from this. Okay. I would definitely like to stay connected, Vijaya. I think sometime down the line, I actually do want to have some kind of a roundtable conference as such with, program managers, product managers, and HRs, and how they kind of deal different things together. That I've spoken to various people in my talk show. I definitely want you to be a participant during that, discussion. Yeah. Thank you so much for already agreeing to it. This is something that I definitely want to do sometime very soon. I will keep you posted, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vijay, for taking time on a Saturday morning, right? I know it's gloomy out there. It's not easy to get out of bed and get onto a call early morning. Thanks so much for doing that. Right. Okay. And all the very best for everything else in your future, in your career. Okay, you have a
Thank
great
you, Sharmila.
Thank you so much again.
Sure, thank you. I just like to leave with one quote, Sharmila, because our emphasis in today's conversation is more on the challenges and how we manage it, right? Just imagine, right? If there is a smooth, there's a saying, right? It's an African proverb which says, "A smooth sea do not make a skillful sailor." I mean, if everything is fine, even lifeline, a straight lifeline is not a lifeline. So I think the challenges are good, and we will learn out of it. Thank you so much for having me, and looking forward for
That
future
was a good
conversations.
one, Vijaya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Interesting conversations I've had. Thank you so much again. You have
Bye.
a great weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hey, also, that was Vijaya Annapurna who spoke about her career experiences. We all saw the emphasis on the need for yoga and the clarity of mind, which has helped her achieve growth in her personal and professional career. Do drop in your comments, if any, on the same, and share any other thoughts that you have as well. And watch you very soon in the next video. Thank you.